తీసుకోవాలంటారు?
ఒకటి మనం
And it is our pleasure to talk to someone who has been responsible for drafting this landmark law, that is Dr. Jayaprakash Narayan. Sir, can we ask some questions, that is, take us back to the years before the enactment of the law, and what were the big arguments about?
All over the world, not only in India, those in government always felt that the business of government is the private property of those in authority, whether they are politicians or bureaucrats. It's not merely political. Bureaucrats all over the world, they are very reluctant to part with any kind of information because information is power. I remember vividly, sometime around 2001, I think, in Hyderabad, incidentally in Kokatpalli, all the local ratepayers and residents, they were all arguing about building regularization scheme. There is a scheme in Andhra Pradesh, like in many other places, where there might be some minor irregularities in construction of a building. The government sensibly gave an order that if they pay a certain penalty, as long as the violations are not extremely serious, they would all be regularized. What happened was, people who applied very late but paid a bribe, they got their cases regularized instantly. People who applied early and in a proper manner but did not pay a bribe, their cases were languishing, they were pending. When they all came to me in those days, I told them, why don't you simply ask for information as to when, which application was filed, what is the current status? You don't require anything more, anything less. The fact that the cases where the applications were filed earlier, they were all kept pending, but the later cases were cleared in many circumstances, that itself is an indication that something mischievous has happened. They were not willing to give information because there was no law at that time. There was no right to information law. Then the local people agitated. Then I remember Justice Lakshman Rao, the former High Court Chief Justice, and I, we went and we led a procession there in Kokatpalli area. We demanded the information should be made available. Once people at our level, with stature and credibility, we started demanding, they had no choice but to give out information. Instantly, two things happened. A, the municipal authorities agreed to hold meetings in each mohalla, in each locality, and clear the applications within the next week or two, case-wise, explaining the reasons why they are clearing, why they are not able to clear if there is a difficulty, in a very public and transparent manner. And B, more than a lakh of rupees collected as a bribe, at least in one locality, was refunded. At that time, the local municipal councillors and others, they were all involved in collection of bribes. All that money was refunded voluntarily by the municipal authorities at that time. So that is the power of information. But we only had to depend on individual credibility and our public profile, not on a law. So what the law did in 2005 finally was, after a series of efforts, the Shourie Committee came, some kind of a law was indeed enacted at the national level, but a weak law. Some states did come up with laws, for instance. Some of them were reasonably good, some of them were very weak laws. And all kinds of agitations took place. And this kind of civil society efforts, they happened to somehow get information, to use it as a tool to reduce corruption or to improve the quality of services. But in 2005, finally, we got a pretty decent law we could live with. And along with Aruna Roy of MKSS, from Lok Satta, I am privileged, and all of us are privileged in being able to get a very robust law, a very practical law.
So how did the political parties finally agree to do this, sir?
No, we must believe, Swati, that political parties are not enemies of the people. Yes, on occasion they do behave like enemies of the people because of political compulsions, because of what they believe is politically profitable. Once the issue becomes politically profitable, once they realize that their significant vote depends on what you do in terms of governance, then the parties also are willing to do the right thing, whether it's right to information or many other things that Lok Satta has engineered, the local courts law. By unanimous consent in Parliament, we got that law. The 2003 law on political funding, again by unanimous consent, the then party in power, the NDA, and the party in opposition, UPA, came together, or Congress came together to enact that law. Or the 91st Amendment to the Constitution, or the 97th Amendment to liberate cooperatives from the clutches of the government, or now, right now in Parliament, it's being debated, one house has approved, the 120th Amendment about the appointments to judges. So if we really experiment